What's the best way to increase our desires? And I'm coming to this from the rubber band analogy that you use.
Well, you're also wisely coming to it from the contrasting experience we just had, because contrast puts another train on your desire track. But did you hear? This is a clarification we have never made before, isn't it? Did you hear that along with the launching of the new desire, you also have an equal resistant train pulling in the opposite direction? So you really haven't gained anything except more desire that is frustrating the life out of you. So your question is perfect. That's one way to increase desire. But really, what good is strong desire with complete resistance? You know what that means? Desire, 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 resistance, 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 equal trains, equal trains, equal trains. You know what that means? You're going to get everything you want when you die. That's what it means. Ooh, what a transitional moment that's going to be. Pah! But meanwhile, while you're still in your physical body, the most effective way to increase desire is by focusing upon the things you want and milking them. Stay with a subject of desire and just talk about it longer. Talk about it with friends. Look for evidence of it around the universe in which you live. Because what increases momentum, if anything, is attention to it. You hold a thought for as little as 16 seconds. We used to say 17. You hold a thought for as little as 16 seconds. And another thought like it will join it. And now there's more momentum. Do it again, and now there's more momentum. Do it again, and now there's more momentum. You only have to do that about 4 times, cross the minute mark, and now there's enough momentum that you could have a receiving moment with just that little bit of attention. Which seems really simple, except that engine here, 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 engine here. 2 minutes, no movement. What's gone wrong, Abraham? This. Contradicting with the yeah, but.
So is that a habit?
Yeah. It's a habit that is encouraged by law of attraction. Because law of attraction is an equal opportunity employer. Law of attraction is not a consciousness giving any concern or awareness to whether it's something you want or not. It just doubles down on vibration.
So then best way to stop adding resistance is kind of occupy the mind.
You said the perfect thing, because you can't really think 2 things at the same time, can you? In other words, it's one or the other. But when you say, I want it, but, and don't you hear yourself sometimes saying that? Well, wouldn't that be nice, you say sarcastically. Wouldn't that be nice? And what you mean is, I want it, but I don't believe it. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? I want it, but I don't believe it. And so when you find yourself saying that, you can feel yourself saying that, then say, now wait a minute. It would be nice. And maybe it is possible. And there are things that I've doubted before that have come about. And I'm sure others that now are living that may have at one time doubted it. And somehow they were able to let go of the doubt. In other words, you can talk yourself into a place of feeling better. You can. You see, really, rather than working too hard initially on increasing your desire, it's really easier to just decrease your resistance by changing the subject, by hanging around with different people, by caring about how you feel, just by being aware of what things you say. Esther has begun catching herself, and she'll say to herself, now that was unnecessary and unhelpful. And something about just defining that it was unnecessary helps her be more aware next time she gets in the vicinity of it. It's just this gentle thing. Don't try to give up negative thought altogether. Don't try to quit smoking all at once either. In other words, have you noticed when you decide you're going to quit, you just smoke more? Think about it more? Everything's that way, because when you say you're not going to do something, you're doing that thing. You say, I'm not ever going to do that again, but you're doing it right now while you're thinking about not doing it. I'm not going to say that again. Never again am I going to say that. I'm not going to say that or think that thing that I'm thinking right now. I'm not going to ever do it again. And the whole time that you're not going to do it, you're doing it. You're practicing it. And so it's airtime. It's the amount of airtime that you're giving. And so you gave us the perfect words. You can't give airtime to what you don't want the same time you're giving airtime to what you do want. This is very rudimentary, and yet it takes a lot of practice. And we want to add to all of this, you can't get it wrong and you never get it done. And the reason that you can't get it wrong is because it's never done. Because it doesn't matter how many engines of desire you have and how many engines of resistance you have. Right now, in this moment, you could add another non-challenged engine of desire. And you could focus upon your desire enough that some of those engines of resistance would drop away into non-existence because you're no longer going back and activating them again. So, the subjects that matter the most to you are the subjects where you usually have equal engines. The subjects that you think the most about are the subjects that you've weighed the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses, and you've talked to more people about it, and you've got more nosebook friends involved in it, and so it's more difficult. So the subjects that you don't have a lot of resistance, a subject that is pure, a subject that is pure because there's not much resistance, that will start moving right along for you, and you will see the evidence of it. We have a famous story that we've been telling for years. We were talking to a woman on the telephone who was having none of us. She wanted us to tell her fortune, and she wanted her fortune to be a good one. And she did not want to hear about deliberate creation. She did not want to know she was the creator of her own reality. And so finally we said to her, as we realized that we could not say enough that went toward her desire to keep her from saying something equally against it. It was a half an hour of that kind of conversation. We'd say this, she'd say that. We'd say this, she'd say that. We'd say this, she'd say that. And then she pronounced us ineffective. So we said, let's talk about some other things. Like what? Let's talk about blue glass. Why? Because blue glass is fun to think about. Why? Well, think about blue glass. There's lots of blue glass of all different colors and sizes and shapes and textures and densities. Let's talk about blue glass. She didn't want to talk about blue glass, but we talked about blue glass for over 60 seconds. Then we said, let's talk about butterflies. Why? Because butterflies are beautiful. Butterflies are all different colors. There's many different species of butterflies. Let's talk about butterflies. Didn't want to talk about butterflies, but we talked about butterflies for over 60 seconds. Let's talk about feathers. Why? Because feathers are everywhere, and feathers come on all kinds of different birds. And she didn't want to talk about it. She wasn't having any of it. In fact, she may have hung up before we were finished talking about feathers. And Jerry was not hearing the conversation. It was only Esther allowing Abraham to speak to this person. And so they were in La Jolla when it happened. And they went to George's in La Jolla for lunch. And as they were getting out of the car in front of the big, beautiful pink hotel, Esther said, "Oh, let's go in here." And it was a shop, and Jerry didn't want to go. Jerry wanted to go to George's. Esther wanted to go in the shop. In fact, she wanted to go in that shop so much that she couldn't not go in that shop. So Jerry followed her in reluctantly, which was also common. And they got to the back of the shop, and here is a whole wall of blue glass. A whole wall of it. Ceiling to floor, wall, a very large, very tall wall of just about every kind of blue glass that you could imagine. Well, they didn't want to purchase any blue glass, and Esther did not even realize she was looking at a wall of blue glass. She wasn't really interested in the blue glass. She observed that there was some blue glass, but she didn't make the connection about what had happened a few minutes before on the telephone. So they went to George's, they had lunch, then they went down to the cove. They're walking across the beautiful grass on their way, and they were surrounded by a flurry of butterflies that was so intense they had to stop talking so that they would not eat them. Jerry did not have any awareness of it at all. He just thought it was delightful that they were surrounded by butterflies, and Esther still did not connect anything. And then a little boy came across the way, a little boy, 4 years old or younger, and Jerry said, "He looks like he knows you." And Esther said, "I know." And he got closer and closer and handed Esther a feather that he'd picked up, that he just felt inspired to bring to her. And then Esther said, "Oh my God." Oh my God. That's all it takes. Activate a subject that you don't have any resistance on, and within an hour, no matter how many there are, the universe will find a way to bring a convergence of cooperative components to give you everything that you're focused upon. But the things that you want and doubt, you're not in that pure place. And even though Source is giving you hints and ideas and suggestions and impulses, you're oblivious to all of them because you're not in the receiving mode of that, you see. Don't you like knowing how it works? So doesn't it make you want to practice it a little bit with things that don't matter so much? With things that you can just get one little train going in the direction of what you want and watch how cooperative the universe is and feel your own power and worthiness as ideas just keep coming and coming? You take something that you have no resistance about and give your attention to it, and the power of the universe will descend on you in a way that you will be certain that you are magic. As thing after thing after thing just clicks into place and gives you what you want when you want it, the power that you possess when you don't resist it is unspeakable.
So what makes one stop the receiving end and adds more turning our backs on it? So,
well, you said it, it's habit. You know as well as we do what your reasons are. You don't want to be a freak. You want to find harmony or resonance with the person that you're talking to. You ever been visiting with someone who's sort of down about something? And so you deliberately get yourself in there so that you can sort of sympathize and empathize and explain how you've been there too. I felt like that before. I feel your pain. I felt that. These are my examples of that pain. The answer to that, the specific answer to that is because often you seek resonance with another person rather than with your own source. And the reason you do that is because this person is visible to you, and sometimes this source isn't. The vortex feels like mystery to many of you. But this person who's upset about something is easy to take in, and easy to empathize with, and easy to resonate with, you see.
How do you show compassion without empathy?
Really good that you put those two words into a distinctive category, because compassion is seeing it through the eyes of source. That's our distinction. But you can't do it unless you're there. So the answer to that question is you get your train going, 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 and then you don't match up with them so much. And then you feel guilty.
Or you live with that person, or you work with
someone. So you get your train going, 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 and then you're here and they're here, and you can't empathize. But you can observe them, you can see them with your eyes, you can hear them with your ears, but you don't join them. So let's make this distinction. Compassion is you observing someone and your energy doesn't move. Empathy is you observe someone and your energy does move. That's the distinction. And when you have compassion, it's hard for you to get your thoughts around this because humans have been using these words interchangeably for a long time. But we want to make the distinction about it. The longer you've been here, the easier it is not to join them. You're having a bad day, you meet up with somebody else that's having a bad day, you just have an empathetic pity party. But if you're really here and they're really there, you're probably not going to get together. Or if you do, one of two things has to happen. They're going to join you or you're going to join them, one of three things, or they're going to stay where they are and you're going to stay where you are. You have options. So we ask you, what makes you do this? What makes you want to join them? Do you do it on purpose? Is it because you're in step 3 but not step 4? Is it because you've got step 3 going, but you're not really solid in it, and so somebody else that's solidly someplace else can get you? That's why step 4 has its own whole step. Because when you've really got that, then you don't go. Then you don't go. And then occasionally, of course, you meet up with somebody who pushes your hot button, because everyone has those things that they haven't quite resolved. And so sometimes your own path of least resistance is right into something that you're wanting to clear up a little bit. We do not want to make this sound like if you don't stay here when someone else is here that you've done something wrong. This is how you figure it out. But you got to decide what feels best to you. And we've noticed that a lot of you aren't willing to do what's best for you because you've been trained so much into the service mode that it just seems like you owe it to others to go wherever they need you to be. And a lot of them will say that to you. You're not here for me anymore. You don't give me what I need. You've disappointed me, or you're not here for me. And what you want to say, as long as you are in that receptive mode, is, but I'm here for you. I'm still focused upon you. I am adoring you. You are important to me. I'm loving you.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.